Okay, let me now talk about how do you develop your critical thinking skills. As I mentioned, in the VUCA world, one of the competency they need to be able to develop is the cognitive readiness, which include the critical thinking skills. So I want to share with you a model called R.E.D, developed by Watson Glaser, a Pearson Talent Lens, which is an organization that has developed this tool, assessment tool, based on Watson Glaser tool. The framework R.E.D is a gold standard in terms of, and also the assessment, the Watson Glaser is a gold standard in developing and assessing a leader ability to think critically. So what are these R.E.D models? First and foremost, the R.E.D model is effective in all business situations, and in many, and Pearson Talent Lens has researched and looked at successful leaders, what it takes to lead the organization, and in terms of problem solving and decision making. They have researched and looked at these three areas about how to recognize assumptions, how do you evaluate arguments, and how do you draw conclusion. So the R.E.D. And a lot of activities in terms of problem solving and decision making has been found to lead to this, what we call the critical thinking ability. And let me talk more about this R.E.D. As I said, if you like to know more and if you like to assess your ability to think critically, the tool that I would recommend is called Watson Glaser Critical Thinking Appraisal Tool, or the R.E.D model. You can visit our website at ce-global.com. You'll be able to get more information. Let me now go into the tool, the R.E.D model. Number one, recognizing assumption. What are assumptions? If you look at your day-to-day business decision, when you are facing with challenges, we tend to make certain assumptions. Assumptions are statements that are implied to be true in the absence of proof. I repeat, assumptions are statements that are implied to be true in the absence of proof. So what they mean for a leader? So when you're faced with your boss or your staff, your customer, or anyone who make a statement or assertions, so you need to ask yourself, you need to be able to separate the fact from opinion. A lot of times someone tend to put across their own opinion as though it appears as a matter of fact. So this is where you need to listen actively to comment, presentation, information presented in your day-to-day at work. Sometimes it's been the way people present, they're so convincing, they're so persuasive that it may be seen to be true, even though there's no evidence that been backed up. So the question is, how do we challenge any statement that is being made in the process of trying to solve a problem or facing a challenge, and how persuasive a person may be, you need to always challenge that statement. So noticing and questioning assumption help us to reveal the information gap or unfounded logic. Now, a good example today, if you look at what's happening at the Trump administration in the US, the US President Donald Trump. So sometimes statements have been made by him. You need to really evaluate and question. What is it? Is it a valid statement? Where's the evidence? You need to be able to separate from fact of opinion, because a lot of things sometimes can be persuasively presented as though it's a fact. So we need to ask ourselves sometimes when we receive information from our colleague, from our staff, from our customers, and even from our bosses, we need to examine that ability to what we call recognizing assumption. That's first out. Then the E in the R.E.D model, the E stands for evaluating argument. Evaluate argument. So first of all, let's define what is argument. Argument are assertions that are intended to persuade someone to believe or act in a certain way. I repeat, argument are assertions that are intended to persuade someone to believe or act in a certain way. Evaluating argument is a leadership competency because it's the ability to analyze such assertions to objectively and accurately. So you need to look at the situation when someone provide you with information. presenting a business case. When you are in the organization, you're deciding whether to invest in infrastructure to change the system and processes. When your business leader or your colleague presents certain argument, you need to be able to evaluate objectively and accurately. And how do you do that? It involves you to question the quality of the supporting evidence, the reliability of the evidence. When facts are being presented, you need to understand what exactly, how accurate are this, how reliable are this data that's been used, how recent it is, the validity, reliability. And also evaluating argument, meaning that we need to be able to understand how to exercise self-restraint, self-control in our emotion so as not to allow it to influence the situation. So this is the challenge that leaders face, because how do we develop this ability to exercise self-control, self-restraint when we feel so emotional about certain facts, certain issue that we feel so strongly and therefore we push our agenda, or we are against the proposition put forward by the other party. And this is the challenge. The question is, my advice to all of you is always focus on the issue, not the person. Evaluating argument means focus on the issue, focus on the quality and reliability of the data being presented, and not the person. And this is a reality because a lot of us may have certain either favorable bias or negatively we do not like someone, therefore they clouded our judgment, our thinking. So that's called evaluating argument. And lastly, under evaluating argument is about what we call the common barriers, or what we call confirmation bias. Now, confirmation bias is a real issue and challenge for leaders when you are trying to make decision, solving problem, allowing your emotions or others to get in the way of objective evaluation of the problem at hand. So confirmation bias basically means that we tend to believe what we believe, or we tend to lead, or actions that we take tend to lead towards confirming our initial belief or bias. So we need to restrain, exercise restraint. And exercising restraint, self-restraint or self-control is indeed a leadership competency, or what we call the emotional and social intelligence competency as defined by Daniel Goleman, which we will talk in another module called the emotional and social intelligence. So that is a second set of the R.E.D, the evaluating argument. Now it leads me to the final, the D, which draw conclusion. Now what does it mean? Drawing conclusion consists of arriving at conclusions that logically follow from available evidence that has been backed or been proven to be true. Now what does it mean? It includes evaluating all the relevant information, looking at what you have on hand. As I said, the information that is reliable, that is proven, and then decided, drawing a conclusion, judging from the different options, different possibility, and deciding what is the best way forward. Now, it's a very unique skill set. It's not easy. Not everyone is able to do that, because to be able to draw conclusion relying on different, the first two, the recognizing assumption and evaluating argument together, the drawing conclusion allows you to be able to bring diverse information together from all parties concerned to be able to draw conclusion. So it follows logically from available evidence, and again, as I said, you need to be able to look at the reliability and the quality of the evidence being presented to you. So when you think critically, when you use the R.E.D model, let me just conclude here by saying the R.E.D model has been proven, as I said, over the years, 70 years of research by Watson, Glaser, Pearson, Keller, Lenz. We have found that if you use this model, a very simple model, R.E.D, it helps you to be able to make tough decisions and solve a difficult problem in face of the challenges that we face in the VUCA world. So adopt this model use it every day. It's a very simple model, and I would recommend you to use it with your team and help you to develop the skills, the critical thinking skills, to be ready, along with cognitive readiness skills that we talked about in the earlier module, to face the challenge in the VUCA world. Thank you.